Hi, Jonathan York from Bay Financial Partners, looking at the investment markets. Another pretty tumultuous week in the investment markets. Really sort of two sort of pronged attack really. The data coming out of the US on the unemployment data was very strong. They were looking for a number of around 200,000 jobs created. It came in at 313,000. So it's a very strong employment report. You're going to get more people in the actual workforce since 1983. On the flip side, the hourly earnings, wage inflation, that was down a little bit. It was only running at annualized sort of 2.6. It was down from the 2.9 figure last month, and that was also revised down to around 2.8 as well. So really you've got sort of the sort of Goldilocks sort of scenario. Really, you've got good growth, you've got very low unemployment, more people finding jobs, but there's no real inflation coming through. Now, obviously, the inflation is the part that the central banks are trying to pump into the economy to get these economies back and sort of with interest rates rising, so you can get back to a more sort of neutral level on interest rates. The other big story obviously was the announcement that President Trump is going to sit down with Kim Jong-un from North Korea. That meeting is going to take place in May, and that's really a major sort of breakthrough and a huge milestone. And if these two leaders can actually sit down now and come to some sort of formal agreement going forward, it really should be one, pretty good for world peace, but also as well pretty good for global growth as well. Obviously North Korea has suffered really dramatically with the sanctions that have been put in place, and there could be plenty of opportunities out there. The third strike came this morning with Trump firing his Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson. As usual, he didn't even have the courage to sort of do it face to face. It was via Twitter. And really, he's turning the White House into a sort of a superficial farce, really. It's fast becoming a sort of a reality TV show. Now, obviously, the Fed meets later this month. Obviously, on the back of that employment report, you'd expect interest rates to be increased in the US by another quarter point. It's just going to be interesting, really, to see the rhetoric that sort of accompanies that, and whether they're still looking at 3 hikes or possibly 4, with a very strong US economy. Brexit is, sort of rumbling along, but also you've got the added sort of twist now in the UK as well, with this latest sort of spy saga taking place, and potential Russian involvement. Obviously, Putin and Russia have said, it's nothing to do with us, but yet apparently the nerve agent is, can be linked pretty closely back to the Soviet programs back in the 70s and 80s, and it's going to be very interesting to see how this sort of plays through. Maybe coincidental or maybe cynical, but it is interesting that Putin's facing some elections coming up very soon, and potentially the cynics out there and sort of conspiracy theorists could be sort of saying this is another way of sort of Putin just standing up and showing how strong Mother Russia is, and it doesn't matter what sort of takes place, they can really impact anyone anywhere in the world. struggling a little bit as well, back to sort of low 60s now. But while it holds above 60, I think the bulls out there are still sort of relatively encouraged that that there are sort of higher prices on the horizon. Retail bond here in New Zealand from Investor. If you're interested in that, call us on 0800 867 323 or go to the website www.bayfinancialpartners.co.nz. Just in terms of the New Zealand economy, it's still sort of pushing on a pretty good rate. Some pretty good dividends out there to be had on some of the shares. That contrasts with sort of fixed interest market out there where you're looking at sort of 5 to 7 year maturities with an interest rate of sort of 3.8 to maybe sort of 4.2, 4.3, possibly 4.5 if you're lucky. And that's very well fixed to say for sort of 5 to 7 years. Dividend yields, you can get some still reasonable dividend yields. Some of the property trusts, some of the other companies out there, property trusts are running around sort of net 6%. Some of the other dividend shares are still running around sort of 7.5 to 8.5 gross. Now, if you are interested in discussing some of these income options, say call us on 0800 867 323 or go to the website www.bayfinancialpartners.co.nz for lots of interesting articles. We'll look forward to speaking to you soon.